Okay, so I'll give you some context. Uh, what I was working on. So I have my current SAS here, and I was actually so I was actually migrating from MongoDB with Mongoose to Postgres, because when I was learning, uh, backend stuff, I pick Munstack as everyone do with this amount of tutorials that we have. So MongoDB is fairly easy to go in as a fresher. So I use that, and now I have realized that when I am actually scaling my application, the MongoDB is not a good choice, because I am having very relational, uh, you can say, uh, database API or a business logic, because everything is related to each other. So, and everything is fairly static. Uh, so I don't actually need MongoDB. And if I want to, actually scale to uh, real impactful amount of users, then I might need to also consider other tools like having a queue for a synchronous task, etc. And everything will be need to set up eventually. So that would take a lot of complexity if I am using MongoDB, and then I'll have to use any other third-party API or open source tools, but I have to actually manage those tools. So instead of that, I just learn some Postgres on my job. So I got to know how powerful Postgres actually is. Later, I learned a lot from uh, actually implementing, then uh, learning from this book, which is fairly good. Uh, it gives a lot of insights about how actually the database pre-processes your query, and what stuff it does. Uh, all that. Also, some channels I would recommend you is that yeah. So he is I guess CEO or CTO at PlanetScale. So PlanetScale is uh, a database provider, and they have scaled Postgres to a very good extent. Uh, I bought this book as well, and when I was learning this particular book, I stumbled upon his live videos. These so after actually going through this book, I gone through its videos. I you know follow him on Twitter, and we had couple of interaction about Postgres there. So from there, I got to know that he also is doing database interns as well, and he actually publishes a lot of video on how does database actually works. So I got to have a pretty good and in-depth explanation about Postgres. So I was actually more comfortable with Postgres compared to MongoDB. So that's why I chose to move to Postgres. So what I tried to do was, I actually had a database in actually production. So I tried to move that to a Postgres. So I needed to rewrite everything, because I was using Mongoose back then, which is just compatible with MongoDB, and I decided to go with Drizzle, because Drizzle is much more uh, you know uh, uh, SQL tied than Prisma. Prisma is just globalize ORM, so it doesn't actually provide uh, nuances that you can have with Postgres or any SQL database for that matter, like joins or etc. You can have that, but you might have to write raw SQLs, and you can do that. But my preference was that if I can write it in, you know, uh, ORM, then I don't need to rely on raw SQL queries, because there goes a lot of work in that. You have to manually test everything. Don't get good indentation in that, and everything becomes messy as app goes. So I have also seen code bases where Prisma actually helps, and Prisma actually uh, fucks up everything and reduces the code readability. So it depends on the people that are writing code, I know, but still, I don't consider myself, that much neat or uh, I can say future agnostic, because I will be solely working on this, so I don't have anyone else to clean up for me or review my code. I will be writing it. So if anything breaks, everything would have been, you know, handled by me. So I decided to go with, Drizzle. So that was my choice, and actually, uh, so I'll show you. So I'm using ChatGPT codex here. 54% context is left still, even though I have migrated my whole uh, code base here. So I have done pretty much everything, you can say, via the codex. I haven't actually wrote any code. I actually was writing, I guess, some helpers back some months, but uh, I left that cause it was too much of a hassle for me, and I didn't actually find any, coding agents or coding tools, coding agents, whatever, that much helpful for my task. So they were a lot, hallucinating and everything. But I got to know that Opus 4.5 is very good. I was hearing from a lot of Twitter folks, and also got to know that Codex is much better when we have a certain context of a database. So in my day job, I found that Codex is actually much more useful to write code for you if you have given it context, and you have you actually have to tell it what to do technically, along with what functions to use, or you don't need to use effect, you need to trigger this when that's happened. I'm talking about React. So it will save you actually writing a lot of code. You have to, I had to do a lot of thinking in that way. But there are some micro nuances, like naming variables, or other things, like what are the patterns that were used in our code base, what are the functions that were used. Like we have a lot of helper functions in uh, our code base, like append zero, etc., etc. So those were used by codex, but those were not used by cloud code. I don't know why cloud code didn't use it, even though they have had the same amount of time and same amount of context of the code also. I have given them a right amount of same prompt, and same, you can say, whatever context they require. So I found Cloud Core much more useful in that regard. So I actually had a database setup uh, already, and I found that if I'm not setting everything from scratch, then Codex is better. If I am setting everything from scratch, or I'm just doing vibe coding and not caring about the code, then Cloud Code is much better, cause it uh, didn't meet my criteria of actually being a good agent. I know Cloud Code is very good, I have been hearing it from people, but I didn't find it particularly useful for my use case. So what I did was I just told it that uh, we are actually this seems to have cut off. So we have to make sure that we are successfully migrating. So we were in the middle of migration. I actually wrote some code earlier, like yeah, like these helpers I guess, yeah. So these helpers, some of these were written by me. I guess it changed everything. I will tell you what it changed and why it changed. So yeah. So I told it to migrate the code first. So it actually generated fairly decent code, but it had everything at its uh, table, or you can say it had everything was mouth fed to it, spoon fed to it, because logic was already there. We just needed to convert from mongoose to drizma, sorry, drizzle. But one thing that it lacked was it didn't actually use postgres relational uh, relational tables, like when you have n to n or 1 to n, then you can use relational tables which just do that. Yeah, so we have table A, we have table B, and 1 is here and A is let's say here is xyz id and here is 123 id, then 123 and xyz are related is what these tables do, right? So we could have had this kind of table in the our database, but it actually didn't generate those. What it did was for end to end it had uh, the table A, and in that it has something like b ids, and it had a json b array, and in that I don't know why it had JSON-B array. It could have just have a integer array, but it had JSON-B array, and in that this was here, and for B it had AIDs, and it generated everything. So it looks fine. It also works fine, but you have to manage everything, like and as your database grows, your user grows, this becomes very costly, uh, and this is actually very denormalized, and you can have data ambiguity in there if you forget to update table B while you are updating table A. So it saved me a time in actually writing the actual migration, but it didn't help, or actually it didn't do the thinking for me. I had to do thinking, and I actually reviewed every single line of code that it wrote, because still don't trust whatever they uh, generate as of now. Maybe there will be a day where you can just blindly trust whatever code it generates. It would be a great day for humanity, but for now we had to do the things old way, like you have to have a code review of whatever code it is generating. So I told it to generate and migrate. So it has generated a fairly decent code. I haven't actually seen if it works, and that the code base is actually, I guess, 1.5 years old. So it has a lot of improvements can be done. I know from hindsight, uh, it looks very bad and hacky, but from the knowledge that I had at that time, it looked fairly good, and I'm proud of that. I was able to write that kind of code at at that point of time in my life. So let's see. Uh, so it has generated everything. So I find it fairly useful. So this has been my actual experience. So if you have anything uh, useful related to these agents or anything, please let me know. So yeah, that's it. And also, please tell me how to use actually use Cloud Code uh, usefully. And I also want to, uh, generate some fairly looking, you can say UI, because I am not that great at designing stuff. I can code, or I can have a I can create great user experience, but I don't have that skill, or you can say talent, that how to generate a fantastic looking front ends or UX UI. So if anyone can help me.